Hi everybody, it's Deanna with toolsofenergyprotection.com, your energy shift expert. And tonight I'm here to show you, or actually to talk to you about how to use a pendulum. So some of you have been asking me about how to divine or divining tools. So I'm going to wait just a little bit for everybody to get on. Last week we had such an awesome and amazing time. We had so many people joining us, and we talked about spirit guides and questions about spirit guides. So that was so popular. Sorry, that was so popular that I'm going to do that again in about 6 weeks. So if you're on the Facebook page, click here, follow, or click like. If you click follow, you'll get a notice on your cell phone of when I'm going to be on next, and we'll do the spirit guide ones once again. If you need any help with spirit guides any faster than that, please do go to toolsofenergyprotection.com, click on work with me and sessions, and then I will be able to get you on. So just in case we have a lot of questions tonight, I'm going to go ahead and get on my page here so that I can see the questions in the feed if we have a lot of them. Last time it was quite a few people joining us, and there was a backup in trying to get everybody's questions on. So I've been in the studio this week doing different things and getting it so that I can see more questions in the feed and respond a little bit faster. So what we're going to talk about today is, again, pendulums or muscle testing. I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is and what that looks like. Let's see if I can get... Okay, so now I can see the comments. Okay, so what it is dowsing or using a pendulum or muscle testing are pretty much all the same things. They're different terms for different things. So this is a pendulum. You can have them at different lengths with different things on the bottom. If you're joining me right now and you'd like to, go ahead and share this video. Right on the bottom of the video it'll say share, and you can send it to some friends if you know they're interested in using pendulums. And so a pendulum, there's nothing really magical about a pendulum. It is simply something heavy on the end of a string or something light. There are some people that think that there are spirits that work with us through the pendulums by, we hold the pendulum and somehow they push the pendulum back and forth, and I suppose that's possible, but not my frame of reference. So when you have thoughts or feelings or emotions, they are in the nerves in your brain, and those nerves control your hand, and then your hand controls the pendulum. So there's really no magic in there. Good morning, good evening, good morning, Sheila. How are you? Thank you, Kendall and Nicole, for coming. And Rosina, good evening to you as well. I'm just looking over here at my other monitor so I can reply to the questions. And as time goes on, I promise the videos will get better. We'll get better lighting and better questions and all that. So back to the pendulum. So there is no magic, if you will, in a pendulum. There's no mystery. It is a tool. It is no different than a pen or a pencil. And this is my orientation. This is how I understand things. So if you understand things a little bit differently, I ask that you just open your mind a little bit and take this in and think about it and see if it makes sense to you. Let's see here. Hi, Candace. Thank you for joining aboard. Hi, Chrissy. Thank you for coming aboard. So the divining tool or the pendulum, there's really no magic, no bad juju to it at all. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Denise. Thank you. Sarah, hi. This is awesome, ladies. Thanks for coming on. But the pendulum is what's called a divining tool. And there's also something called muscle testing or kinesiology, and that's a science. You're welcome to look it up. Starts with a K, kinesiology. And so what happens, sorry about that, but sometimes you get C, sometimes K. Anyways, so muscle testing is acknowledging that your body knows things that you don't otherwise acknowledge. Your physical body responds to energy. You have a gut feeling. Sometimes you just feel like you can't speak or be heard. Your body is responding to things. Have you ever been somewhere and your gut just wrenches, or if you have a lot of emotional issues, sometimes we'll have intestinal issues like irritable bowel syndrome. These are all signals that our body is sending us that something's not right, and we're trying in the mind to ignore it. And in the same way, but in a more positive manner, there's muscle testing. Muscle testing is easier for some people than others. I found it a little challenging for me, so that's why I prefer my pendulum. And so muscle testing is simply to establish some sort of a baseline that you understand. Let's see, who else is checking in here? Okay, great. This baseline is to make a conscious awareness of what your body's saying or not saying. So when you put your fingers together like this, if this is the way you choose to do it, and you press them together, and you put your other finger in and pull and resist, that pulling is a strength, so that rings true because your body's strengthened. If you pull it through and you say, I would like a weak response, and you just pull it right through, that's because your body's weakened by whatever you're saying or feeling. That's basic kinesiology. Other people have other methods, pushing the leg, pushing different parts of the body back and forth, but that's kinesiology. That's muscle testing. You can also have somebody hold their arm out really straight, and you can ask them to hold water and then push their arm down, and usually you'll get a very strong response because the body's responding yes or truth to water. But then if you put something else in their hand, like say bottle of bleach, the arm will probably weaken when you put it down because the body's saying, no, this isn't good for me. You know, I don't want to intake it. It's not good. So that's very basic dowsing. That's very basic muscle testing. So one of the questions I get quite a bit is, when I'm dowsing, how do I know that it's not just my ego, or it's not me being fanciful in my thinking? You know, how do I know? Well, when you think with your ego mind's job is to create trauma or drama. That's what the ego does. That's what it gets paid to do. So in my dowsing class that's coming up on Friday in Lakewood at the For Heaven's Sakes bookstore, there's 2 stores, one in Denver, one in Lakewood, and I'm now over at the new location teaching classes. But if you take the pendulum and you ask if you have one with you, or if you have a necklace that you can use. Hi Aubrey, thank you so much for joining. Hi Sarah, thank you so much for joining. Thank you Chrissy for the comment about my hair, thank you. But if you have a pendulum and you've programmed your mind to what the yes and no response is, similar to the muscle testing, then if you were to ask an ego-oriented question, you will most likely get an ego answer. So if I ask, am I going to win the lottery on the next pull? Yes. So what's that going to cause me to do? Woohoo! I'm going to win the lottery, ring up all the credit cards, go buy the lottery ticket, you know, whatever other drama it might cause. And then when I don't win, what happens? Yikes. So that's a very ego-centered thing, to win a big bunch of money. Is it possible to be in the vibrational frequency of the lottery? Of course it is. Thank you for the hearts and the smiles. Thank you. It's absolutely you can be in a space where you can win the lottery, where you can win money. But you're in that vibration. But what I'm saying is anything that's ego-oriented. A lot of times I'll have the ladies ask, is my husband cheating on me? And they'll get a yes. And, you know, some of them are not even married. But that's the ego's job. So if you can recognize the difference between that and working with divine guidance, God, Spirit, or Source, Holy Spirit, Chi, Zen, however it is you want to put it, when you recognize that pure love and that pure energy coming in, giving you correct information, and your body responds accordingly, then you can make different choices. Then you can align yourself a little bit differently. And I keep seeing oh, there it is. Hi, Orlando. Hi, Jane. Thank you for joining. Chrissy asked a question. She missed it. What was the safety pin for? So, Chrissy, you get bonus points for noticing that I have a safety pin on my pendulum. So here's a little reveal for you, a little personal reveal. And a fun story. I had taken this exact pendulum. This is actually my favorite one that I enjoy using for no other reason than I like the shape of it. And a mentor had actually made it for me. The pendulum, I took it to my job, to the For Heaven's Sakes bookstore there in Denver. And hi, Jessica. And I took it to the back room where we have a refrigerator and then a small convection oven. And I was going back to make my lunch. And so I took this exact pendulum and I put it right on the counter next to the convection oven so that I could heat up some food. And the convection oven was on one side, the refrigerator was on the other. So I set my pendulum down and turned around to the refrigerator, opened it up, took out my stuff, shut the refrigerator, and took back around, and my pendulum was gone. And nobody else had been in that room physically besides me. And I thought, oh, I must have bumped it off or knocked it off, which is not really possible. But I thought, well, maybe, I did something. So I got down on my hands and knees. I looked everywhere. I had another of the beautiful ladies that works at For Heaven's Sakes come in. She looked all over the floor. We found nothing. And I thought, well, that's really strange. And it was kind of hurtful because, like I said, it's my favorite one. So that night I went home, heartbroken, but, I'd gotten another pendulum, got to keep going, got to keep working. And when I got home, my kitchen table is very empty. I do not like to have anything but maybe flowers on my kitchen table. And on my kitchen table, in the very center of the kitchen table, was this. I did not leave it there. I had taken it to work. Hi, Jeff. I had taken it to work with me that day. So how did the pendulum get from the bookstore in Denver to my home in Loveland? Don't know. I have some theories. Nonetheless, I didn't like the fact that my pendulum had disappeared on me. So you asked me, Chrissy, about why there is this beautiful pin on my pendulum. I don't desire to lose it, so I will actually take this beautiful necklace that I have and pin it to the necklace. And a lot of times if you see me in public, I'll have all three pieces on there. Thank you. I'll have all three pieces on there as I'm walking around. I've heard from people that looks really nerdy and disturbs some people, so I will now take it and pin it inside of the pocket of my pants that I'm wearing, and so that helps me not to lose it, because if you reach in a pocket and you pull out some change, things tend to fall. So that's why, Chrissy, that I have this beautiful thing right on here to keep it from being lost. However, I have discovered with one of my contemporaries, Selena, that this can help to balance out the pendulum when you're working with it, so it has a nicer flow to it when it's doing a working circle. Now, if any of you have ever been with me before, you know that when I'm teaching and I put things on an agenda, I do attempt to cover every single thing. So I'm going to go back to what I had promised here to talk about tonight. Make sure I make it all. Okay, so muscle testing we covered, pendulums we covered, working with the ego we covered, and then I said, how do you work with it in everyday life? This is so exciting. If it thrills you and you're thinking this is fabulous, then what I would like for you to do is call the For Heaven's Sakes bookstore and come be with me this Friday night from 7 to 9. I'm going to teach a basic dowsing class. It's so exciting. I'm going to introduce everybody up to a level of their spirit guides and help them to dowse. It's just an absolutely fantastic class. You really don't want to miss it. So, back to how do we use it in everyday life. If you take the class, I'm going to have 3 different containers with labels of A, B, and C on it. And then I'm going to ask you to muscle test, use the pendulum, and intuit what's in each container. And I do have a framework around it. So each container has a themed item. It could be a food item. It could be a tool. It could be a office item. And through that you will find out which one it's in, so you can be more oriented. How do you use it in everyday life? All right, if I'm driving somewhere, I don't use the pendulum too much when I'm driving because that's not safe. However, I have a response in the back of my head for yes and no that I've come up with over time. And so if there's 2 different ways to go on the highway before they had phones and you could look where the traffic was, I would ask, is it faster and more efficient for me to turn left or turn right? I've also used it to intuit, hi Nikki, I've also used it to intuit where to garden, because I've noticed in certain years if I plant hot peppers on a certain side of the house, they don't come out as well as they do perhaps on the other side of the house. So I will ask, where is the best place for me this year to put my garden? And sometimes when I'm doing that, I will also ask different things like, is it, I'll have 5 different plants that I want to put in, and I'll say which one's the least likely to grow this year, because as you know, with the vibrational frequencies and the different parts of the planet, sometimes it's better to plant a season of tomatoes, and you have so many tomatoes you have to give them away to friends, and other years you get 1 or 2. So ask questions like that. If you're not ego involved, you can also ask about investments. And I've asked that before. Is it better for me to invest my money here or here, which will have a greater return? And recently, hello Nikki, recently I had the opportunity to work with a person who wanted to hire people. And so what we did was we used the dowsing to intuit which person would be a better fit for the staff that was already there, or which person would be elevating the company as a whole. And you can imagine if you have a really big company and you have hundreds of employees and you're attempting to hire a new one that will really fit in and be cohesive with those other employees, it'd be good to know vibrationally if they're a match or not. So you can use that, asking questions like, which one will be the best match for my team? If you're in sales or marketing, that kind of thing. So there's a wide variety of what you can do with dowsing at a very basic level and get started. Are there any questions for me? So I'll give that just a second for you to post questions. Sometimes there's a little lag in the feed. Looks like I'm not seeing any questions. Let me just check over here. Okay, I'm over here on my computer feed. And I'm not, one person is saying it's good information. I'm glad that it's some great information for you to have. That's the whole intent of doing Terrific Tuesdays. I'm going to find several different subjects that people ask me about over and over again, and come on, talk about it, give people a chance to join me and ask very good and valid questions. And then of course I'll repost this on YouTube afterwards. There'll be a replay on Facebook. I have had several people that have reached out to me and said they aren't Facebookers and they're on YouTube instead, so I'm going to get them to start posting their questions on YouTube so I can answer the questions there, because I'm not in real time on YouTube. So I have one question that says, what should we look for in a pendulum? Fabulous question. Thank you, Kendall. So a pendulum is a very personal thing. It's like a toothbrush. Thank you, Nicole. It's like a toothbrush, because what happens with a pendulum and a toothbrush, some people like hard bristles, some people like soft bristles, some people like longer ones, some people like shorter ones, some people like automatic ones, right? Same thing with a pendulum, although they're not electronic. In a pendulum, you want to look for length. I personally don't like the ones that are any longer than about 2 inches, maybe 3. Because the longer the string or the chain or whatever you're using, the leather, the longer that is, the longer it takes the answer to come. Because remember, the energy is coming from your hand into the pendulum, moving it back and forth. And when it moves it back and forth, the longer the string, the longer it's going to take a time for you to get that answer. The other thing about pendulums, this one is made out of black onyx, I believe, but it has a frequency. Every stone has its own frequency, and it will react in your energy field. I personally don't think it has any bearing on my ability to dowse. However, there are other people who use a crystal, and that energy really helps them. And they think that it really shifts their frequency enough to help them to get better and more clear answers. That's their reality. That's what they're dealing with, and I'm so excited that they found that for themselves. So just know that for me, if it does affect my energy field, I'm not consciously aware of it. But I recommend that when you're starting, you get yourself a nice single stone and something that moves freely. I have seen people get the ones that are studded right here with all of a different color for each chakra. And the only problem with the studding and that chakra is that it's kind of cumbersome and you can't fold them up too well. The other advice I would have is right here, this is the top or the ball of the pendulum. And I would like for you to be able to get 3 fingers around the top of it, because it will give you a better hold and make your dowsing ability much stronger. Again, this coming up Friday, I will be at the For Heaven's Sakes bookstore. The location, 2 locations, one in Denver, one in Lakewood. I'll be at the Lakewood teaching that class, which starts at 7. If you want to register, you can give them a call at 303-953-8760. And we'll get started. It'll just be a couple hours. I'll introduce you to your spirit guides. We'll come back and we'll start working on the questions and how to intuit and what to look for. All right. The next question I have is, would it be wise to set an intention before dowsing? Yes. My intention before I start dowsing anytime is that Spirit and I are one. The highest level vibrational frequency is a part of me, and I'm a part of that. It's a 1. That's my intention. That way I know I'm truly connected to the love and the joy and the unity that there is with Spirit, as opposed to a lower vibration. If you've ever dowsed before, there's some people who think that they just go for it, which is, understandable. And when they do, they'll say, "Oh, pendulum, show me what a yes is," and it'll go 2 circles to the left and 1 circle to the right. And I ask you, how confusing is that? And then what's a no? It's a sideways this and a sideways that. Really? It's too confusing. And if you're asking the pendulum what it thinks, as if it has its own consciousness, and it's telling you the answers, then you're giving the power over to something that's usually darker. Not always. It can be different beings. But anything but the highest level being is the connection. Because again, the energy comes through the synaptic nerves, the nerves in your brain from the 4th dimension. That's the area you're connected to, and even higher. And then it comes in here, which moves the hand, which moves the pendulum. But I know I'm going to get some people saying, "What do you mean a pendulum doesn't have its own consciousness?" So I do want to clear that up really quickly. A pendulum is an object. This one is a stone. It does have its own stone-like consciousness. It's a beautiful little thing, and it does have its own consciousness. And so does the ball, right? As every living thing does on this planet, as does water, as does, cloth. But it doesn't give me magical answers. I don't say, oh, pendulum, and it speaks to me. All right, any other questions? How do I decide if it's an ego answer? Perfect question, Nancy. Thank you. An ego answer is the answer that you really desire it to be, so you're bypassing the divine answer and putting your ego answer in place. So your ego answer is going to create drama. It's that simple. Ego creates drama. If you come down and take the class, I'm going to give you some exercises, some fully expanded exercises on how to test whether it's the ego or not. And after a while and after enough practice, you will just know, oh boy, this is an ego answer. And then you want to call somebody else who douses and get them to cross-check you. Okay. Thank you, Denise, for giving me great info on the pendulum as an object. Now, as a special bonus, if anybody else has any questions, again, there's a lag on the feed time, so if you want to put those in now. But as a bonus to everybody who's on there and somebody who's going to watch it later, oftentimes when I do these, I'm really connected to the energy of the beautiful, lovely people that have chosen to join. And in that energy, there's a string, if you will. If this ball is me and this part of the pendulum is all of you, there's an energetic string. And so some of you have disembodied spirits, discarnates, some lower vibrational being that's attached to you, and because I'm here, they're coming to me wanting to be crossed to the light. And that's normal in my line of work, so I'm going to ask for God, Spirit, or Source to take these beautiful divine beings and send them to their right and proper place in love. Please clear them, elevate them, and educate them so that they may be of the light. Good. If that was you, you probably felt a tingling sensation or a shift in your consciousness. Somebody asked me, will you offer this class live online? I don't know yet. Since you asked, I will put it on my list of things to bring into this space. Whether you're seeing this live or whether you see this later, if you would please comment wherever you are. If it's on Facebook, it's usually here or over here. You can comment. On YouTube, I believe it's below the video. If you're on my website, there's a comment section below. And if you would like to have a class live on the air this way, if enough of you will vote and let me know, I'll be more than happy to hostess it for you, because that would be a great thing. If I do it, I'd like to do it in a closed way, like on Zoom, and invite people. That way there's a live time question and answer where you can actually speak to me as opposed to typing to me. So I thank you for that. One more thing before I go. If there's any other questions, if you can put them in the feed. If not, while we're waiting, thank you for the hearts. Thank you for letting me know that you like this. Again, I'm going to be doing Terrific Tuesdays. You're also welcome to put in the feed any kind of suggestions that you might like for me to cover. 6. I'm going to rotate them probably every 6 weeks at the moment. That's what I'm thinking. And cover anything about spirituality. Any questions you might have, if it's an area of my expertise where I know about it, I'll be glad to talk about it and discuss it with you. Let's see here. I do have Sheila. Sheila says, I cleanse my pendulum depending on the material used. Yes. There is some school of thought that if you take the pendulum and put it out in the dirt on a full moon night, that it will cleanse it, sometimes on an eclipse. Other people will put it in their windowsill to cleanse it. It depends on your belief system. It depends on your level of understanding, how you cleanse it. I asked my beautiful lovely to be cleansed by placing it in between my hands and praying over it and asking God's Spirit or Source to cleanse it to the highest level possible, just like taking a shower or a bath. So it just depends on your orientation. Then on a personal note, for those of you that don't know, I am a hockey fan, and I do enjoy the ECHL, which is a little bit lower than the Avs division, and I've been learning more and more about it. I'm learning about the communities that are in Canada and how that hockey starts at a young age, and it is very much the center of the community. It's the heart of each community. It's like each town has their own hockey team. And if you haven't heard, there was a crash, I believe it was last Friday, for the Humboldt community. And the victims in this crash, it was very horrific. 15 people have passed. People have lost their children at a very young age. I believe as young as 15, maybe 16 years old. It's just a very hard thing to fathom, and those families are going through a lot right now. So if you would join me in sending thoughts, love, and prayers that they would be uplifted and upheld during this time, and that you would ask the angels of light and the angels of comfort to just go be around those families and really help them to work through this process and to take the grieving in the way that they need to process it. I would very much appreciate that. That's it for tonight. I have no more questions that I can see in my feed. I will double check over here. Again, I'm doing the best I can to improve my product, to improve the time that I can spend with people. There's quite a few people that really could use some time to spend with me, and this is the only way that I can be of service to them. That's fine. So thank you for the hearts. Also, if you're interested in the Denver area, there is this coming up Friday from 11 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. I will be doing discounted energy sessions and readings and healings and clearings and talking to people's spirit guides. It's if you call the store at 303-964-9339. This is for Heaven's Sakes Books in Denver. And I will be there. You've got to call and schedule an appointment because the time fills up so fast that I don't usually have any free spaces. So if you call tonight or maybe too late tonight, you have to call tomorrow morning and get on my schedule. Hour appointments. It's a huge discount. It's my service back to the community. Normally a session is $100 for an hour, and this is $60 for an hour. So you want to be sure and take advantage of that, or tell your friends. So again, thank you so much for joining. Big hugs, big kisses, and love to everybody. I'm still trying to get back to a few people from last week, so if you're one of those and I haven't gotten back to you, feel free to message me and reach out to me, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Have a great and wonderful night.